All right.
All right. What is up, everybody? What is up? It is Dr. Vibe and Ryan Oneil Knight. What is going on? What's up, Ryan?
Doing very well. Always good to see you, sir. How are you doing? Oh, you put yourself on mute.
Well, the system put me on mute. I didn't touch a darn thing. That's all right. Well, it's the morning vibe here, July 19th, Monday morning. I'm Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I host the only online program in the world for fathers and dads that's sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization, and I am also the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, which is a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their things in food, wine, and travel. I am joined with Ryan, the media star, the Scarberia star, Knight.
Hey, spreading expanding to the east.
Yes.
Yes, for those that don't know me, my name is Ryan Knight. I'm one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. We are an organization that works with Black entrepreneurs to figure out what stage they're in today and help them grow and scale their companies. And for myself, I'm also an entrepreneur running a social enterprise called Detailing Nights. So we are a mobile waterless car cleaning company. So we come to your house, your home, or your office to clean your car on the spot without using any water. And what I'm most proud of is actually our youth entrepreneurship program. So if you have a teenager or a young adult that is looking for a job, is currently unemployed, and you want to get them outside using their hands and learning entrepreneurship, please send them to me. We would love to employ them and also teach them how to be their own boss.
Yes, and when you send the youth to him, he'll be wearing a green shirt, not a purple.
That is correct.
And a silver tie. You'll see he'll be in. Oh, and we'd like to say good morning to a number of people in the family. As usual, our main man, Christopher Lawrence, and Garnet Manning. Long time, Mr. Manning.
Make an appearance, sir.
Whoa, this is
you on the show.
Yeah, well, Mr. Manning should reach out to us. We'd love to have you on the Morning Vibe, telling us what's going on. So, Ryan, what was going on for your weekend? I know where you were last night, so tell us.
Yes, so we got to enjoy Afrofest as a family down in Scarborough. So that's why Dr. Vibe knew I was in the area. It was actually at the Guildwood GO station in the parking lot. So if you check my Instagram, actually the ACBN Instagram, you'll see a live that we did from there. Some pictures we posted up just of the family enjoying the African vibes. But yeah, I'd love to talk more about not just Afrofest, but other events that are happening in the Black community that we really need to support and get behind. So were you able to check it out online, or did you pop in?
I checked a little bit online. I'd say pretty close home this weekend. I was a little tired, so I did. I wasn't tired. I was tired, and but did some work around the home. Had some interesting. It never stops. Very interesting conversations. Actually, one of them yesterday was with Ryan as he was on his way to Afrofest. I had him on my Black Canada Talking program, which is on every Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, where I either showcase Black Canadians or have Black Canadians give their POV on things that are important to them. So things were there. But, Mr. Manning, anytime, sir, your call. Well, I hope I have your phone number in my... I know that if I don't, probably Ryan does. Well, I'm just going to make a quick... I'm just going to see if I have Garnet Manning's phone number. because if I do, I will be calling him this today. Yes, I do. So, Mr. Manning, I will be giving you a call today. So, asking you shall receive. So, Ryan, you wanted to talk about some of the things that are going on in the Black environment.
Yeah, and even as we were talking yesterday, I'm curious what may have stuck out. Like, what stood out for you as we had our long conversation on Black Canada Talking, and then to talk about, hey, certain events that are happening that are they needed? Are they? I'm talking about certain tours that are happening. Is Black History Month being wasted on just jumping up and having events, or could we be more productive with our time?
You really want me to comment on this, don't you? You really want me to go there, don't you?
I love to get perspective.
Oh, no, you're. It's a yes or no question. Why are you being so politically correct?
Yes.
All right. All right. So, it's just a little bit of doctor vibe here. Many Black people either are challenged with one of three things. You know what? I'm not gonna go there. That's another conversation. So let's put it this way: in light of the pandemic, it is good to see people getting out there, enjoying themselves, meeting with people, socializing. Nothing wrong with that. But we got some big work to do. Really and true. And big kudos to Afrofest to be running as long as it has been.
Yes.
And they have got it right. They have been around for a long time, so they've got to be doing something right. So great to get people out there, and people may not like me, but I don't mind, because this is my platform. You don't have to turn it on.
Right.
We got work to do. We got some serious work to do, and time never lost the fight. I had a conversation yesterday about an organization which will go nameless. Ryan knows what I'm talking about. And I'm going, I couldn't figure this out. I couldn't figure it out. But then I had another conversation about the same organization saying, oh, they want to come on my platform. But here's the interesting thing. This organization has a white PR firm doing their work.
It's a Black focused organization?
Yes.
Okay. And so that's where you'll see the ripple effect of programs where's the money actually being spent? And it's like, yes, a Black organization gets it, but then it gets funneled right to a non-Black entity. And I see it a lot.
You know, and I know this is one of the things, Ryan, that you're very passionate about. Black dollars staying in the Black community.
100%. And I don't know who can create an app that would actually help us track it. But even on the weekend, I was looking at, okay, we're going down to Afrofest. We had stopped at the Black-owned Toronto store on the way.
Okay.
So just in my mind, I'm calculating, hey, I got paid on Friday. Where did the money actually go? You know, so my landlord, let's say, isn't Black. And then you say, okay, the person that holds my mortgage isn't Black. And then you're like, okay, I bought some things at this store that isn't Black owned. And you just running through your head. And I remember listening to lectures from Dr. Wilson Amos about just shifting it from, let's say if we're at 1%, could we get it to 5%? Or could we get it to 10%? And I think we purposefully need to look at where we're spending our money, and just to say, hey, if I'm buying toilet paper at Walmart, is there any other stores in the Black community that sell toilet paper or like necessities? And then my like leisure spending. So Afrofest was one of them. Instead of buying a movie on Bell, go in person to support Afrofest. And so you're shifting money away from, really, you don't know where it's going. Like if you're spending it outside of the community, it could be going a myriad of places. But knowing Afrofest is specifically for the community and my dollars went there, I want to start actually tracking that more.
Yeah, it's Over the years, I've switched my thought process, saying that if we're going to make a change for the future of blacks, it has to be economical, at least in North America.
Right.
Because, like it or not, folks, we live in a capitalistic society. We don't live in a democracy. Sorry to shake people's tree. Right. But your politicians, they may be a part of democracy, but if they don't get the money to run campaigns, they don't get nowhere. So
that's the thing.
So Christopher is saying a creation of essentials list.
That's what I'm talking. Like, if we had just a database to say, compare what you buy against what is available. Because, okay, if there are no black focused stores that sell certain products, fine, you got to get it somewhere. But if there is, we should at least make an effort to buy from there, because you're going to be buying it anyway.
You know, and you know what? So this weekend was the Black Farmers Market in Little Jamaica.
Yes, and that's going to be happening, I believe, every Sunday up to a certain time.
But here again, you know, and Christopher's saying this is a great idea. I guess the question is, what is it going to take for us to really support each other? I think we got to, first of all, support each other internally, and we got to support each other just relationship wise.
And that question around what would it take? Because we're surrounded by so much technology that I feel there's a solution within technology that could aid us in this.
You know what? I don't even want to go the technology. I think the solution has to start inside us before we even push a button, before we even go on to one of these things. The solution has to start here internally, right? Because if you can push that button, but if you don't have good thought process, that button push is going to be a waste of time, right? So I was going to get into
the button gets pushed. Because
but if the button pushes and it blows up, that ain't good.
If it's that goes on the design of like who ever designed the button ever pushing,
right? But the thing is, and I'm just gonna, maybe one day on the morning I'll get deeper into this, but I'm gonna put it out there now. I was gonna put up at the beginning, I pulled it back. Many Black people suffer from one or more of these things: trauma, repetition, symbolism. Trauma, repetition, symbolism. I'll just leave this there. If people want me to go deeper, may not be on this one, but if there's a request, I'll go deeper into that. But if you think about it, many Black people, and I'll just go high level.
Can you give us the Cole's notes?
Many Black people. I think we all have seen that a number of Black people suffer from trauma, and we have been a people that have been dealing with trauma for hundreds of years, slavery, etc., etc. Repetition, perfect example. Hip hop artists, they say the same thing over and over and over and over, and we do the thing over and we repeat them. And symbolism, we love our stars.
Very true.
Right? A number of us, we idolize the stars, so that's symbolism. A lot of times, so perfect example. I may get trouble for this one too. Many people in the United States, many Black people, first Black vice president, Black woman vice president. How much has changed for Black Americans?
They do that same question for even Obama. It's like, we got 8 years, forget a vice president. We had
Here's a better question. Symbolism. Again, go to the United States. How is it? Oh, we're gonna have to bring up this name. Cardi B interviews the vice president of the United States, and Black intellectuals like a Dr. Claude Anderson can't get near the president of the United States. I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
Hey, you hit it like that, because the symbolism is where
And you know
we
what?
value that more.
And it's also on this side of the border too. I'm
Right.
going to tell you that too. We love our symbols. We love our, and we have trauma up here and we have repetition up here. We've been doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. And we're getting the same results over and over and over and over again.
Yes.
Right. And we know a number of us suffer from trauma. I remember a few years ago, a very good associate of mine said, she told me, Dr. Vibe, every Black person needs a therapist. I'm getting to believe that.
Right. And I would go even further that everyone needs a therapist at some point, but and again, not mandatory for Black people, but we should at least it shouldn't be stigmatized, because we're like anti-therapy. Like, we're like completely against it. If you talk to like a lot of my friends, if you bring up the concept of therapy, because I remember I went to was a psychiatrist, and that conversation alone had my friends like, why, like what, and I initially had to go because of a lawsuit I was in, but then I decided to go back. I was like, I really enjoyed getting to just talk to somebody, and they had to listen.
So just out of curiosity, was the person Black?
No. So the first one I went to was a white gentleman, and the second one was an South Asian.
Yeah.
And what I didn't like, though, was certain psychiatrists that I've gone to, or psychologists, they'll listen, but then try to prescribe you pills. And I was like, listen, man, I don't need pills. I just want somebody to talk to. Like, I just enjoyed this conversation, getting things off my chest. And then they're like, oh, well, yeah, it sounds like you should take these and these. I was like, man,
No.
yeah, so maybe I do need to find a Black therapist.
See, well, there,
so
and there's
another
thing too. There is a lack of Black therapists out there in the marketplace. And I know that the request for them has gone through the roof over the last 14, 15 months. So there will work. So I want to encourage anyone who's passionate, who's Black, who wants to get in that field, please do it.
Absolutely.
There's a need for it. Huge time. Just want to catch up. Garnett is saying, agreed. We often confuse the difference between Black prominence and Black empowerment. Well said.
Boom.
And he also saying, we don't need another hero. All we need is life beyond the Thunderdome. Well, you look like you're ready to come on Friday, Mr. Manning. You're warming up for Friday. I'm coming to you. I'm coming after you.
When you put the right infrastructure in place, that's what empowers the community. Like you said.
So, well, what do you mean when you say infrastructure? I'm going to be interested. What do you mean by that?
So we're talking about mental health.
Okay, good.
Where do you go to get Black focused mental health support? That infrastructure hasn't been built. If you go to the Jewish community, at minimum, if you have a mental health challenge, you can go to Mount Sinai Hospital and know that it's Jewish leaning. For us, when we go into any hospitals right now, and let's say you talk about sickle cell, sometimes they don't believe you. They don't believe you completely, because we're going into other people's infrastructure. So now when we have our own infrastructure and we talk about the trauma that a Black person is going through, you might talk about sickle cell and what you're going through. You're not trying to convince them that it's there. They get it. So because that infrastructure doesn't exist, we really don't have that support right now. We're always up against other people trying to convince them of Black trauma and Black issues. We'd be able to skip that.
I really appreciate you bringing up the sickle cell example, because a few months ago or a few weeks ago, I had Ulysses Guerriere, who is a gentleman who has had sickle cell since he's been 5 years old. He's in his 40s now.
Right. Yes.
And had him on talking about how has he been handling sickle cell during a pandemic. And first of all, when he goes into a hospital, he needs morphine or there's a drug. I can't remember the name of the drug, that really rose into prominence that in regards to people being addicted to it in the States.
Like a certain type of opioid?
Opioid. Yes,
okay.
he needs to take opioids to reduce the pain threshold.
Right, yes.
And when he goes into a hospital or emergency, he needs a certain amount. And first of all, he has to convince them that he's in a lot of pain.
Yes.
And all this stuff. And then he has to ask for more than the minimum amount that they can prescribe to most people.
Okay.
So they don't understand his situation. They're not culturally sensitive. Right? You don't have to look like us to be culturally sensitive. You just have to understand.
It's so true.
Right? So
and
I think
it's worse because a lot of times they'll get labeled as it's tough because they get labeled as like a drug addict and they're just seeking drugs. And so they'll get on their record, oh, this person is bounced around to many hospitals. So that's on their record. But pain is really subjective. And so because a person can't measure another person's pain, they have to believe them. And if you're going into an environment where you're already labeled as something stereotypically negative, it's very difficult for the gentleman that you're talking about to convince medical staff of what he's going through internally. Like, that is something that he shouldn't have to struggle. He's already struggling with pain. And
exactly.
Now he's trying to convince another person of the pain. Like, that mental stress is, I couldn't even imagine that.
Yeah, the infrastructure, I think when we think about infrastructure, we not only have to think about physical infrastructure, we have to look at our own mental and emotional infrastructure. Right.
Yeah, and also, I remember talking with my wife, because she's a registered nurse at the same one Cheriton that runs Ebony Occasions, but she'll talk about how pain in the Black community is really underrated. So there's some... Like,
we need her to come on and just talk about that.
You do need her to come on and talk about that.
Right there is pain. Pain is underrated in the Black. So can you make a request to her? I would like her to come on and talk about that. No, that's a really, I don't. She does she work on Sundays?
Every other weekend. So yeah,
I would like, if you could put this request out to your dear wife, I would like her to come on Black Canada Talking and talk about that subject.
Okay, that'd be amazing.
Because pain and the Black community, right there, I want that needs to be spoken about.
Yeah, and typically we don't talk about it. And then this is what we're all going up against when, again, just like you're talking about, the gentleman going in and they'll not undermine, it's and not even underestimate, but just whatever he's going through, they like diminish it, or they'll say that, oh, Black people can handle more pain, or like weird things that you've heard in history,
assumptions and stereotypes.
That's it. Like, we're battling this every time we go into a medical situation. So what Garnet was talking about, where what is in place to empower us when we have our own infrastructure, that to me actually empowers the community, because you're skipping a lot of barriers and getting right to the root of a lot of the issues, and you're getting the perspective of people that get it. And that we don't have our own banks, we don't have our own medical institutions, we don't have our own education system, we don't have our own first responders for child issues or policing. Like, those types of pillars completely fundamentally change the Black community if they're in place. If they're not in place, we're begging outside of our community for them to support us with what we need. And we've seen the history of that, like, for hundreds of years. Even if we just take the last 50 years, that approach does not work, because we're still having the same conversations about anti-Black racism that we've been having since 50 years ago, because anti-Black racism is trying to convince racist people not to be as racist. That does not empower. That actually puts us in a position of inferiority and like a victimhood position, where we're trying to convince corporations and different institutions to be less racist, so that
it's here's an interesting point, and this is not, I don't believe this or not, I just thought about this. these like when we talk about anti-black racism, these companies that don't look like us, they don't have to take care of us. They have to take care of their own first.
And there lies the problem.
We may think that they're being racist, but they take care of their own first. Chinese. Here's an interesting gentleman who I follow online. I won't get his name, but he said when he went to be interviewed for a major university job, he was interviewed by an Oriental gentleman.
Okay.
And he said, if he was in China, do you think a black person would be interviewing him for a job in a Chinese university?
Oh, wow. Oh, it was a black institution?
No, yes, it was, in fact.
Hey, boy, that's like another show too. It's like
right,
like so many
issues with that. And I'm gonna have to spend the time thinking about this anti-racism stuff. But at the end of the day, other cultures take care of their own first.
It's instinct, and there's
I have to think on this one because I understand, but we are all taught to take care of our own.
It's instinctual. That is how our brain is wired. Social constructs. We instinctively take care of our family first, instinctively take care of our social network first. So there's actually nothing wrong with that. It's just we as a black community don't practice our own like instinct, animal instinct. Like that's how we survived over how many years that we've been on Earth. But when you talk to a black person that's in a position of prominence, they will say, oh, I can't now hire black people because it's going to look like I'm playing favorites. So there's some weird reverse racism where if a South Asian hires from their community, nobody bats an eye. It's like if you look at stores in Brampton, it'll be front to back South Asian. Nobody like makes a comment about it. So if there's a front to back, if you go into a bank and it's front to back black employees, somebody has an issue with that. It's like, oh, the manager here clearly is racist against other communities because they're hiring all black people. That conversation doesn't happen with any other community. We like attack ourselves for supporting ourselves. It's a weird
I think part of it, Ryan, maybe is that a number of black people feel that they need validation by people who don't look like them.
And that's a weird paradigm. I am no psychologist, so I can only give my opinion on stuff like that. But that's the data. Like when we're looking and observing the world, that's what we're seeing is happening.
Right. So you live in Brampton, which is part of the Greater Toronto area. And what has happened in Brampton with South Asians is something that blacks in the GTA should have done because they were here before the South Asians.
And that's
like where Ryan lives is dominated by South Asians. Dominated.
Use it as a blueprint. I moved here when I was 7, and now I'm 38. Within that generation, Brampton's completely changed. So I'm thinking to myself, it took one generation for a community to see opportunity within a city and say, we are going to move here and just empower ourselves. Why can't the black community do the exact? Find any city. We have Canada. Actually, we have the world to pick from. But let's say any city in Canada and say, you know what? We are going to move there. We're going to encourage other African and Caribbean people that want to immigrate here to move to this city. And we're just going to build a great life. Like, there's nothing wrong with what South Asians did in Brampton. To me, that is the definition of
more power to them. More power to them.
It's actually amazing.
Yes.
It didn't take like 100 years to do it. it just took within 30 years, Brampton becomes known for, hey, that's a place that South Asians move to and they're able to sustain and thrive. We could have done it ourselves because I feel like we moved to Brampton first, but we didn't have that collaborative mentality. I feel like, are starting to form it, and we should be shifting from defense and going on the offense, looking for land. There's a great initiative by a group called Pomoja that's looking for land in Port Colborne to create a Black community. Like this type of,
and I love the opportunity, but it's the land is further and further and further away. Like here's a point here. Garnett says, wow, Ryan was just 18 when I did my first interview with Dr. Vibe. There we go. Yes. So that tells you how long I've been around for, folks. Amen. But see, I live in a part of Toronto called Scarborough. For many years, there was a huge Black population in Scarborough. Not here anymore. They've moved further out east to places like Pickering, Ajax, Durham region, which is great. But the thing is, nothing is the challenges that were there. Everyone's moved out there. Still somewhat the challenges here too. Here's the funny thing: the area that I live in is dominated by Middle Eastern. Dominated. Right. They own all the stores there. They you go to a plaza, 60 to 70% Middle Eastern stores. Like there's a strip, it's just Middle Eastern stores. Right. I'm going, where's someone who looks like me? Oh, I've got to go out further.
Right.
Which nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, we had an opportunity here when actually the economics were actually better.
True. Well,
because now Ajax, it's not any cheaper. Right?
Ajax has a strong Black population.
Yes.
They should be looking at what land could they be owning.
But there's a difficulty there. Two interesting facts. First of all, people may not know this. The Durham region has the highest concentration of Black population in all of Canada. All of Canada.
Even over Nova Scotia? Like areas in Nova Scotia?
Yes, highest concentration of Blacks in all of Canada. And probably economically, the average income of Blacks in that area is probably maybe as good as average income of Blacks in other area in Canada.
Right.
Too late for land. It's too late.
And that's where, remember, after Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa was being built. So, okay, I agree you might have missed that. But even Garnett had told me once, and it was within a meeting, that in Brampton, there's a strong population or a strong amount of residents that own their homes. Like against the stereotype that we rent, there's actually a lot of home ownership.
Yep.
So there's a lot of capital and equity that has been built up. But I know from my own parents, the generation above us don't think about leveraging their homes to like invest and buy more land. They're like, hey, I paid off my home. I'm good. Don't talk to me about my house. Like, that stress in their life is done. So I've seen more in the South Asian community that they leverage the homes that they own to get more homes.
Well, the thing is, and I may be wrong with this, but I think their culture has more of an entrepreneurial base or risk-taking base.
Maybe the risk-taking, I would say. I think there's a strong entrepreneurial in the Black community too.
A large majority of our parents had jobs.
True.
Right? They had jobs. And I may be right, but I'm just thinking that, like, background. How can I say? I think that, and it'd be interesting to to get into research on this, on cultural backgrounds, cultural habits in regards to business. Hello, businessman. In regards to that, I think that, and with all that's going on, we still have hope.
100%. As long as we're breathing, there's hope. And as I mentioned yesterday, the ability for us to collaborate around specific projects, There's one that's out. I feel like that we could definitely collaborate around. And yeah, like that shift in mindset to go on the offensive, look for land that's available, own it, start to build with like finding cities that are already developed. Hey, the South Asians picked Brampton. Brampton wasn't like what it was in 1800s.
No, man, it was a lot of open space, man.
A lot of open space, like a lot of infrastructure already built. We should be looking at where we could really build together. And there's great cities to really, and people might feel like, yeah, the black people are invading. Yes, let's go invade a city and take it over.
Yeah. Well, you know, you talk like I my heart goes out to areas like Little Jamaica. I think that's, but the challenge is they don't own any of the land there. That land has been in family name for years and years and years and years.
That's a big problem.
When the developers came in, they just said to stores, see ya, because the stores don't own the land. At least if you own the land, they say, okay, you want this piece of land, you got to pay me this for it.
Yes, exactly.
So land is very, and again, gentrification is based on land.
Right. And not owning.
Right. Land.
Same thing's about to happen in Jane and Finch. The LRT is coming through. A subway line already goes up through it north. It's actually prime real estate.
And so here's the question: is Jane and Finch going to end up being another? Oh, what's the area downtown? I forgot.
Like Regent Park.
Yes.
Hey, I was talking with Isaac Ololafe that runs Dreammaker Realty and a group of companies, and he pointed that out. It was at least 4 or 5 years ago. If you look at Jane and Finch and compare it to Regent Park, he said that exact same thing is going to happen. And so said, so done. We're seeing buildings being torn down. We're seeing people being pushed out because developers are now, everybody that owns that land is seeing the dollar signs.
Yeah.
Because everything is being developed around
so
it.
You have Regent Park, you have Little Jamaica, you have Jane and Finch. Where are those people going to go?
Good question.
Right.
They should have pooled their money and bought.
Right.
Yeah, so they should actually invest in that.
So Garnett's saying the political and the economic are the double barrel that give rise to empowerment. Little Jamaica was defeated for lack of both. Agreed.
Yes.
I agree. And many, many years ago, I used to live in that neighborhood. I grew up in that neighborhood. And the thing is, for whatever reason, there was a lack of foresight. They thought everything was going to be the same for years and years and years. And there's only 1 or 2 people I know that actually owned what they had. There was a gentleman named Jimmy, called his name was AKA Wisdom. He died a few years ago, very close friend of my dad. He owned his thing down there. He owned it.
Right.
He was one of the few black people that said, you know what? I want to own this piece.
Right.
So whether it's ownership of land, we have to at least have ownership and collaboration of ideas.
True. Well, like when you talk about starting internally, that's the internal starting line. Like ideas, our own way of looking at ourselves and how we view the community. That is all internal work that, hey, needs to be done. I'm willing to go see a therapist to get better and work on my internal. But it's a journey for each individual to really work on how we view ourselves.
Yeah. We will end today because when Ryan has a tie, that means at the top of the hour.
Yes.
He has a meeting. I was even thinking about getting into conversations like the importance of being in a marriage and the importance of marriage from a financial end.
Right. Yes.
You have more wealth when you're in a marriage relationship than most of the time you're on your own. Here's an interesting thing. We lost another hip hop pioneer in the last few days, Biz Markie.
Right.
There was a lady, his ride or die lady that was with him for years and years and years, thought because she was just with him for years and years and years that she would have access to his wealth. Well, a court said, no, you're not married.
Wow, look at that. So the state took it over.
It looks like, from what I'm hearing, the state has taken over his whatever's in his will. I don't even know. And that's another thing. We don't even want to go there.
That's wild.
But the importance, I know we have challenges with, a lot of people have challenges with relationships, but relationships are the foundation of wealth. Garnett's
Yes.
saying, without an intentional, cohesive cluster living, it's going to be a challenge to rise out. Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all.
Very true.
Don't disagree with you at all. And blessings. Have a fantastic. Thank you, Garnett. I will be reaching out to you today to hopefully have you on Friday, because I just want to sit back and hear you drop knowledge bombs.
100%.
So what's on for the rest of the week, Mr. Ryan?
Good question. This seems like a quiet week, actually. So this Wednesday, we're going to be talking about the American Express $10,000 grant. They call it the Blueprint. So if you have not applied yet, this Wednesday will be the last time we're going to do a full walkthrough. So if you started the application and got stuck, we're going to help you get across the finish line. It's due next Tuesday. So our Wednesday sessions, we would miss it. So that's why we're doing it this Wednesday. And yeah, if you're looking for a grant for your business, this American Express one will get you up to $10,000. And they're selecting 100. The last time we checked, they had about 200 applications in. So you had a 50% chance, but they're expecting to get about 500. So about 20% chance. But hey, the stronger your application is, the higher your percentage goes. So let's put in some strong ones.
So people would get money faster from an American Express than from the government?
Oh, 100%.
Just asking.
Hey, yes.
Just asking.
And the tally, it's interesting because we're looking at how much money is actually flowed out. I'm waiting to see those numbers, but what has been reported is zero so far. And even ACBN, we've put out over $20,000 to entrepreneurs. So we're beating them so far, but hopefully they'll catch up soon since they're sitting on 180 million.
Wow.
Wait, is it 180 or 290? Yeah, they're sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars. Yes.
It's a lot of money.
So let's roll it out, people.
Okay, well, we'll be back with you on Friday at 9 a.m. We're going to have Garnett Manning on with us on Friday morning. As always, I'd like to thank you for the time for watching us live or on the replay. As always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Also, just a programming note, I am actually hosting a series of conversations with Black Canadian entrepreneurs. It's a mini series that's happening every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. I'm collaborating with BIA Media and also Dream Legacy Foundation. And last Wednesday night, we had two gentlemen with their mother that started an incredible meal prep service in North Preston in Nova Scotia. And we had a great conversation. And this week we have a lady from Winnipeg, which is going to be interesting. Some of the service, and she's celebrating success. So if you have some time, check it out live at 8 p.m. this Wednesday. It's called Black Entrepreneurs Win with Wednesday. It's a collaborative effort between the Dr. Vibe Show, BIA Media out of Ottawa, and Dream Legacy Foundation. All right. So folks, thanks for stopping by. We will see you Friday. If you're trying to survive the heat, keep cool. It's hot, especially in Toronto. Be well. God bless. Peace. Well. Keep the faith and walk good.